Heaven-given languages are more powerful than many of us realize. Purposes of speaking in tongues. The purpose of the governor is to train us in the ways of our home country. And language, as we've seen, is the most crucial characteristic of a country. Let's review several ways in which speaking in tongues is more important to us. Provides kingdom identity. Speaking in tongues is a key element of our kingdom identity. Again, following our reconciliation with the King, our being given the ability to speak in heavenly tongues means the governor is enabling us, as it were, to share a common heavenly language with our King Father. Gives direct communication with the King. Tongues also enables humanity to once more communicate directly with the King Father. For example, there are times when we find it difficult to express our desires and needs to the heavenly government while speaking in our earthly language. Paul wrote that at these times, the governor speaks for us and through us to the Father through spiritual communication. In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groans that words can't express. And we who searches our hearts, and He who searches our hearts knows the minds of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints in accordance with God's will. The governor provides us with heaven-given languages so that along with other communication, it becomes possible for us to express our crucial needs and requests to the King. A sign we are connected with the King. When Jesus' followers first spoke with new tongues, as the Holy Spirit was poured out upon them, it was a sign to the thousands of people gathered for the feast of Pentecost that these disciples were connected to the heavenly kingdom. As Paul taught, tongues then are a sign not for believers but for unbelievers. Prophecy, however, is for believers, not for unbelievers. And evidence of our citizenship in the kingdom. There is an incident in the book of Acts where the Holy Spirit was poured out on new kingdom citizens in the city of Caesarea, as Peter was explaining the gospel of the kingdom to them. Peter and the other believers recognized that these were fellow citizens, for they heard them speaking in tongues and praising God. Their speaking in tongues was clear evidence of their citizenship in the heavenly kingdom. Common questions about tongues. Inevitably, in a discussion about tongues, people have certain questions, such as, are tongues real? Were tongues only for the time of Jesus and his early followers? Is it necessary to speak in tongues in order to live the life of a kingdom citizen? Let's address these questions. Are tongues real? Tongues are actual spoken communication between heaven and earth. Many people wonder if tongues are real because speaking in tongues has been put into a context of something that is strange or abnormal. The early followers of Jesus spoke in tongues as Jesus had said they would. Kingdom citizens throughout the last 2 millennia have spoken with the King using this means. If we realize that tongues are what comes natural to citizens of the kingdom, their strangeness disappears and their true purpose become clear. Because heaven given languages are a powerful unifier, Lucifer fights against them. Were tongues only for the time of Jesus and his followers? Tongues were given to kingdom citizens to assist them in kingdom purposes. And we are still living in a time when we need this assistance on earth. Their value to the first century kingdom citizens is their value to us today. Communication with the Father, with the King Father, as we carry out his will in the world. Yet some misunderstanding and conflict between people concerning speaking in tongues is not surprising. We read in the Genesis account concerning the Tower of Babel. The Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth. As we just discussed, when people don't understand each other, they tend to separate themselves. We all like to be with people we understand. This is why generally all the English speaking people group together, all the French speakers stay together, all those who speak Spanish join together, and so on. Language creates difference, and differences can create feelings of competition, pressure, and conflict. When you come down to it, war is often created by language differences. Therefore, when some kingdom citizens don't understand the value of the gift of tongues and have not received it, then conflict and misunderstanding inevitably occur between them and other kingdom citizens, and this is regrettable. I believe that heaven-given languages are a powerful unifier among those who have received them, and this is why Lucifer fights against the baptism in the Holy Spirit and the outpouring of the heavenly gifts to children of the King. He encourages some kingdom citizens to create doctrines against the gift of tongues. In this way, he tries to make sure that not all kingdom citizens will speak a common unifying language. This is to a large degree why we have theological positions against tongues, such as that tongues are not real or that they were only for the first followers of Jesus. We have seminaries that teach that these God-given languages don't exist anymore. Unfortunately, these schools are teaching ignorance. But the real damage is that this opposition to the baptism in the Spirit and tongues prevents some citizens of the King from having all the power they need to exercise the kingdom life. The devil knows that he is in trouble when we start speaking in tongues. Tongues are our key to overcoming obstacles in many areas of our lives. For example, I used to be an F student. After I started speaking in tongues when I was in high school, I became a top student in the school and even graduated at the head of my class. Tongues, therefore, are given for renewing the lives of individual kingdom citizens and enabling them to exercise power and kingdom purposes. Is it necessary to speak in tongues to be a kingdom citizen? You can be a kingdom citizen without speaking in tongues. However, you will have problems communicating with the kingdom, and as I said, you will lack the power you could have in living the kingdom life. Here is an illustration to show you that the gifts of the Spirit and tongues in particular are very practical. In my church, I have members or visitors who come from a variety of countries. There are people from the Philippines who speak Filipino,